thank you very much. The UK had long had good relations with the monarchies of the Gulf. And because of historical reasons and because of economic reasons, the UK government, Mr. Cameron's government, has been seen to be supporting these dictators, even in keeping close eye and ignoring the human rights. This is clear, very clear in the case of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, Mr. Cameron's government has supported the regime of Bahrain, knowing that the regime had exercised and inflicted systematic torture on detainees. The government here knows that torture is still continuing until yesterday and the day before, when they attacked the people at the dry dock prison. And they are inflicting maximum damage on poor families. I have so many testimonies of families whose houses have been wrecked by these forces, yet unfortunately the Foreign Office here is ignoring all these and just going as if business as usual with a regime that is impossible to reform without real and serious pressure, especially from the UK. The UK has been supporting the regime, has been defending it on international level, and also preventing any human rights resolutions that may be put at the Human Rights Council because they don't want the regime to be seen as one of the worst regimes in the world in terms of human rights. First of all, the UK has always had military facilities in Bahrain. They always have. Secondly, there is the American facilities which they can use if they want to. Thirdly, there are other military facilities at other Gulf states, GCC states, which they can use. Now, to go and sign a deal with a regime which is known for its blatant human rights violation, it's seen as a support, as political support to this regime. The UK at this moment of time should have stood up to its challenges and should have been faithful to the issue of human rights. It should have stood and told the regime of Bahrain, enough is enough. You have tortured enough people, you have killed enough people, you have destroyed enough mosques, you have arrested enough doctors, and you have detained and tortured enough nurses and enough teachers. So it is time for you to stop all this nonsense, and we will not support you. And instead of this, the FCO went ahead and decided to continue to go in support of one of the most repressive, reactionary, backdated, antiquated regime in the world for reasons that are not going to help the British people. The British people want their money to be spent on them. They don't want to have more military bases and facilities elsewhere. Well, of course, the government will say that they make sure that their equipment is not used for internal repression. But according to the Committee Against Arms Trade, CAT, and according to the anti-war campaigners, most of them are saying that those arms that are supplied to Bahrain are used to suppress the people. It is said that the armored vehicles that crossed from Saudi Arabia into Bahrain in 2011 were British made. There are many of the rifles and small arms are used to repress the people. Probably even some of the tear gas canisters. Although I'm not sure about that, but I hear that. So at the moment, the British government should only take a decision that we will not supply a regime that is at war with its own people, a regime that is trying to to replace the natives with foreigners, a regime that revokes the nationality of its native citizens. They should say that we will not supply you with any arms or political support until you change, until this dictatorship becomes democracy. The Bahrain people, what are they demanding? They are saying that we want to have our own constitution, to write it by ourselves, to elect our own government, and to uphold the rule of law, and to separate the powers, the judiciary and the executive power and legislature from each other, so that each power functions independently of the other. These are moderate, civilized, and legitimate demands. The British government ought to support these demands because they are in line with what they claim to be democratic values of the British system. So, but unfortunately, they are not doing that. And I hope now, with the change of government, that there will be a change of policy after the elections. If not, then the British government is sacrificing its own principles and values for meaningless and useless and worthless price that is going to backfire on them and also on the Bahraini regime that will not be allowed to continue. The Bahrainis have made their decision that they want to change this regime, and this regime will be changed.